This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. This is Harold Watson, Chairman of the Planning Commission. Due to the coronavirus 19 pandemic, we are conducting this special meeting on GoToMeetings.com on Tuesday, April 20th, 2021, at a special time of 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. The quorum for this meeting is 3, and I will now call on the following elected members to speak up as present. Christina?
Christina Kazanis, present.
William Boyd? I believe he's absent. Myself, Harold Watson, present. Dan Sempt.
Excuse me.
Daniel David Sempt, Zone 4. Reporting, sir.
John Staley.
Present. John Staley.
Okay, and our alternate here is Debbie Lamberti.
Here.
Okay, so I show only William Boyd being absent, and Deborah is standing in for him today. Please identify. We also welcome Susmitha Atada, our town planner, and Aileen Marsh, our recording secretary. Please identify yourself by name and title each time you would like to speak. This is per Governor Lamont's executive order, which allows us to conduct virtual meetings. The public is free to listen, but may speak only at the invitation of the chair during both administrative and petition sections. Please text a request if you are on and would like to speak. With that said, I call to order this monthly meeting of the Stratford Planning Association at the special time of 6 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we can now move to our special agenda. Ladies and gents, we only have 2 items tonight. One, which should be we should quickly be able to get rid of. The other one, I think we do need some time to discuss. So, Aileen, do I need to do a vote to take something out of order?
No, you could.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say, without objection, I'd like to move to the administrative item that came up today. And I'm sorry it's not on here, but it just arrived today, and we need to essentially approve something that we've already approved. I'm going to turn this. Oh, is that okay with everyone? You'll understand it's a relatively simple thing. It really is an administrative item. I'm going to turn this over to Susmitha and let her explain what she needs us to do for her. Susmitha? John, do you have a question?
No, I was just, William came on.
Oh, William's here.
Yay.
Okay, we're all here then. Great. Okay, let's continue.
So in February meeting, the commission approved 740 Honey Spot Road application with conditions. One of the conditions was for the building official, from the building official saying that they needed a building permit prior to the filing of the subdivision plat. After that, the attorney was in conversation with the building official, and the building official went and inspected the property, and he said that, excuse me one second, it seems William Boyd cannot hear me. Can others hear me?
I hear you.
I can hear you.
I think there is a technical flaw in your computer, William. So continuing our conversation, the building official now thinks that it is not necessary for them to file a building permit prior to the filing of subdivision plat, because one of the buildings will be demolished and remediated, and the other one probably would change ownership, which is why they cannot take the building permit for that lot. So
oh, wait, stop 1 second. The last idea that you just put forward, what was that again?
They could probably sell the other lot to somebody else, and
the undeveloped lot.
The lot with the existing building on it. It could probably change ownership, or they don't know yet what they're going to do with that lot. So we cannot change the conditions of approval until it comes back to the planning commission again. And I came to know of this morning, And we cannot put it on the public hearing agenda for tonight because that needs at least 24-hour notice per Governor Lamont's executive orders. And which means that they can come back for a public hearing next month on May 18th, but their conditions of approval expire on May 17th. So by statutes, they can request an extension to file the subdivision plat, and they would get 90 days. And that can be done administratively by the commission. So I suggested that they first apply for the extension today, and then next month I'll put this item again back on the public hearing agenda and adequately notice it, so that you would get an opportunity to discuss it as part of a public hearing. If that is okay with you, all that we need today is a 90-day extension on the conditions of approval.
Yeah, I'm gonna run around everybody and give everybody a chance.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, on the subdivision plat, not the conditions of approval.
Okay.
The
I'm gonna
filing
start
of the
with
plat.
John and ask for everybody to respond if possible.
So it'd be 90 days from today if we approve.
Yes.
Okay. And then on May 18th,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what happens on May 18th?
The original approval was from February to May 18th.
I got it. Okay. Okay.
May
All right.
17th actually. So it expires. That's why we are giving that extension.
Got it.
And May 18th will be the public hearing when you can remove that condition officially.
Okay. Thank you.
John, do you have any comments?
It could be removed conditionally.
Yeah, I mean, the building official is not requiring a building permit to be filed before the subdivision plat is filed with the town clerk. But the building official has, or neither I have the authority to remove that. It's only the commission has to modify this approval
So
through a public
so what
hearing
they're doing
process.
is they're subdividing the property, and there's a building contaminated, and they're gonna do demolition on it, and there's no oversight.
And they're remediating that piece there. And so previously, the building official thought that these two buildings were sharing a common wall. So maybe if they're putting a lot line in between, they would need two separate fire escape access, and the utilities have to be separated. And that's why he said you would need to file a building permit. He was not fully clear what was going on. Once he got a clear picture, he said that is not needed. And so now the condition of approval states that they need a building permit before they file the map. So I cannot sign off on the map until they file a building
Right.
permit.
Right.
And that modification of conditions of approval have to go through the planning commission again as part of a public hearing, and then you can vote on it and say, yes, this may be removed, and then I would reissue a new decision letter, and that's when they can go and file the subdivision plat. And that's the whole process.
Okay,
And
well,
we cannot.
Chair,
Mhm.
I would say, okay, let's move this forward. It's not a dead end. There's still more to go.
Mhm.
Dan, any
So-
comments?
No, listen, I agree with John. Is there anything we need to be concerned about, Susmitha, in this whole thing? No, it's just really a formality, I would assume.
Yes, the 90-day extension is just an administrative formality. Even the removal of condition, you've already deliberated this project on February 16th. So I have the meeting video and I can share that with you. It's all about removing the condition because technically they don't need a building permit anymore.
Right. It sounds like basically somebody made a mistake, and in order to fix the mistake and move forward, we just have to say, okay, forget about the building
Yeah.
permit for the building that's not going to be there.
Yes.
Okay.
William, a comment?
So the 90-day delay, so is the May 18th meeting going to happen or not? Will it be 90 days from today or 90 days from May 18th?
Today.
It will be 90 days from today, and I can tell you exactly when the new extension approval will expire. Just give me 1 second. I have it on my notes here. So on July 19th, 2021, Monday, their approval expires unless,
Okay.
they receive another extension. But by then, they should file their
So
subdivision
what,
map in the town clerk's office.
so as everyone said, it's only a formality on our part. This was already legislated. It's just paperwork, and the following thing is going to happen anyway.
I
Okay.
believe,
Yes, no?
I believe so.
Oh.
I think, I believe so, yes. My only concern about all of this, and I agree with everybody, and I essentially agree with everybody who's spoken. I just worry that they are killing us by dribs and drabs with restating things. When this originally came in, they were simply looking to divide the property. And then we discovered the last time they came in that there had been all these plans to demolish the building. And now they're talking about selling the building, which is specifically, selling the land, which is what they said they were not going to do in their last meeting. Yes, Susmita.
Well, I don't know if they're planning to do that. And it was just a thought, I think, and I don't even know if they would sell. But even otherwise, they are not doing anything with the building. So, and they don't know why they would need a permit. It was an error on the part of the building official when he kept saying that was the building code requirement. And, if it was a building code requirement, none of us can argue that.
I
But
will
then
be in complete agreement with giving them this delay if or if the fact that what we had said earlier is that, or what had been told to planning earlier in the last time they were in was that once they tear down this building on that piece of land has contemporary zoning requirements on it. So our M4 water permits and all of those kinds of things apply to that land. As long as we haven't changed the basis of any of that by giving them this extension, I will say yes, that I'm in
Yes.
favor of this.
So, Mr. Chairman, too, we can reevaluate that when the 18th rolls around. So if you've got concerns, we can reevaluate, and if those concerns aren't met, then we basically stipulate, right?
Yes, that's what I'm asking Susmita. We have not lost our rights on any of those other stipulations that we made.
no.
Okay,
And even the new, if after remediation, they have to file for a building permit anyway
okay,
to build anything new there.
okay.
So all the other conditions would still hold good. It's
So
just,
I
one condition that has to be removed because it's no longer applicable.
think we're okay then. Is there anybody else that needs to discuss anything? John?
Yes, sure. If the land is toxic, and who's going to oversee the demolition of the health department, DEP? And how do we know they're going to do it?
They should apply for a demolition permit, and the building department and health, everybody else will get involved. But today's matter is just an extension of the original approval only. It's not regarding the demolition. It's just extending their approval until 90 days more. Original approval that was granted on February 16, 2021.
Will someone make a motion on this?
So moved. Make a motion for the extension on the Hunting Spot property.
Anybody second this?
Christina Kazana, Zone 1, second.
All right, any other discussion? Then we're going to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
John is opposed, so it's 4-1. And it passes. So that's one of our items tonight then. The other item is a little more complicated. I want to read you guys a letter. We've been asked to do this. I'm going to read you a letter that Susmita drafted for me to send to the town council members concerning the Stratford Housing Partnership Plan. What I'm looking for, I know that Susmita sent everybody an email asking you to go back and read the plan and see if there's anything that you want to include that you would like to send on to town council, because they're very interested in voting on this. There's a lot of reasons why. I'm sure, hopefully, all of you are aware of it. But this issue is heating up So I'm going to read you the letter, April 20th, 2021. Stratford Town Council members, housing strategies of Stratford document. Honorable members, on behalf of the Planning Commission members, I am pleased to submit this letter of support for housing strategies of Stratford document developed by the Stratford Housing Partnership. I was also involved in the development of this document as a Planning Commission representative on the Housing Partnership Committee. Over the past 1 year, the Housing Partnership members met regularly in developing the housing vision, goals, and strategies for promoting diverse housing stock in Stratford. The Commission also regularly discussed this item as part of the administrative agenda. And I'm going to ask to add in there the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is fully in support of the goals and strategies outlined in this document, but also recognize that we must all work together in implementing them. Further technical analysis is needed in implementing each recommendation successfully. We need the town council to, recognize that a steady stream of funding is needed to implement various housing strategies. As the budget hearings are currently underway, we request you to consider and account for the, and I'm adding this, related cost of development and cost incurred in the implementation of these housing strategies in your decision making on the town budget. Sincerely, Harold Watson, Planning Commission Chair, with a copy to the head of zoning, Chris Zilhave. So with that, I think we can open up the discussion. So Smitha, do you want to add anything?
No, it's your letter, basically, whatever you all decide and discuss on this. I'm just a staff and I would assist you with whatever you want to do. Only one correction is, Krista Levy, you're sending the letter as Stratford Housing Partnership Chair, I guess. That's what you told earlier.
To him, not
as a
on
zoning
zoning,
commission
but
chair.
on planning.
Yeah.
I mean, but on the housing partnership. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anybody comment?
If you would like, I can show you the housing plan as a screen share very quickly before you discuss it. It's up to you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe more of a thought. But do we want to be specific or more specific in the letter to citing those strategies that specifically mentioned things like special fees, special, trying to identify, outside sources of funding, because I know that there were a few of those strategies had specific funding recommendations.
Right.
Do we want to maybe draw those out so it's not so nebulous in terms of, what it is that's going to be funded or that we would like to see funded?
Christina, it's my understanding that town council's voting on this as if it's a done document. I just want them to know that those areas are not developed. We're not really voting on a plan here unless we get someone to come in and develop that structure, lawyers and everything else. That it's just right now it's verbiage.
Yeah. Okay.
So we need to. I hope maybe that needs to be made clearer in this. And thanks to Smitha for writing this much. I didn't want to write a 10-page letter to them. I was trying to keep it at their interest level.
It's like 2 paragraphs, right? Good job.
Yes.
Yeah. Harold
That's
dictated
Smitha,
our
that's
own
not
phone
me.
and I just typed it in. I was just
John?
telling that you said Harold Watson dictated the letter on the phone and I just typed it, and it's not my letter
That
anyway.
is true. That is true.
Sorry, I'm a
Yes,
great writer. I
William.
don't do short writing, so.
I'm sorry. You know what? John had his hand up first.
Oh,
I mean,
sorry,
Daniel
go
had
ahead.
his hand up first. Let me take him and then I'll take William.
I have my hand up.
No, Daniel
Oh,
did.
did you? Yeah.
Daniel,
Yes,
did you have your hand up?
I did.
Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, so obviously through a budgeting process, is there any specifics as far as what we're looking for the town to budget?
No, because we don't know ourselves.
Okay, so if I'm playing a little bit of the devil's advocate here. If I'm receiving this from us, I think the concern or the questions would be specifically from the town council. Well, what kind of number are we going to put on this? So is there maybe Susmitha, for any type of recommendation as far as monetary value for, to put this in the budget? I mean, we could underfund this very easily or overfund it.
Smith?
First of all, I don't know what exactly, you meant through this letter. I mean, what you had in your mind as an idea, Mr. Watson. So I can't speak for that, but in terms of priorities, the way things work is it depends on, which one is the low hanging fruit and what we can attack right away. And there are so many recommendations in that that we could attack right away internally with some systemic changes. So I have, I think I kind of defer it to you all in this matter, because as a staff, I'm not allowed to actually even comment on this letter.
Well,
I'm just
I
a
can make a
technical.
suggestion, Smita. We, under the housing partnership, had Glenn, I can't pronounce his last name, Chauvin.
Shoulder.
Call, I'm thinking of the news right now, sorry. Anyhow, we had him on for the 6 months as a consultant. He's exactly the kind of guy we need because he really specializes in zoning regulations. So we need someone to come in and say, if we rewrite these zoning regulations, what is the impact going to be on Stratford? So we need that kind of good wisdom. We can make guesses. Those of you, I'm trying to think, there's no one on this planning committee who was on it. Maybe John, you were a part of it when I first came on multiple years ago, and we looked at parking in the Todd district, and we spent 6 months on parking, and it was the most convoluted thing, coming up with all the instances that in the zoning that there are regarding parking requirements. And should we simply just do away with parking requirements, or should we go back and look at each individual instance? In some ways, we did about 3/4 of them with thoughtful reimagining of how much parking regulation we needed, how many spots we needed for each type of business. But there were some where we did not have any understanding. We literally left them the way they were. Whether that helps or not, who knows? But essentially, that's what's going to happen if we are going to really do the housing partnership in a robust kind of way. We're going to have to look at a lot of our zoning requirements. And there's going to be pressure. There is pressure right now from Hartford that we, be bold with our choices. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware. Yes, Christina.
So is the funding request more along the lines of asking for a line item that can help us secure that expertise to work with the our planning and zoning officials in town? Just sort of, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what the
Yes.
funding request is.
I'm going to cut you short. Yes,
Okay.
that is what
Okay.
in my quick thinking, that is what it is.
Okay.
Now, my assumption right now is that all the lawyers that will get involved in this are all going to come through the town budget anyhow, so we don't have to have a line item for that. Although it is going to be expensive if you know how much the town lawyers get involved in singular little issues like that. but we do not have the expertise. I don't even think in administration to actually sit down and rewrite our zoning. We don't, to accommodate what we put into the Stratford Housing Partnership, some of those ideas. My assumption is right now the current plans are that the Stratford Housing Partnership will continue. So eventually they're going to take that plan and say, what is a 1-year plan? What is a 3-year plan? What is a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan in terms of these goals? What can we change within the next couple of years that will have an impact? So we're not saying all is going to get done in a year, but we need to make sure that we start thinking. We need some kind of expertise to say, these are the things you need to take a lot of time on. These are the things that you can do immediately that'll show results. And there are financial matters that you raised. If we're really going to talk about doing a user fee on applications, that requires a financial commitment on, it will raise money, but it also will cost money. So I don't know the answer to this, Christina. I just wanted to make sure that planning was on record to the town council that get real about this document. Don't say it's all we've already done all the work that you ever need to do. I want them to know that you still have got to think through a lot of these issues. And some of this will actually fall on zoning that they will have to look at. And then it'll come back to planning saying for each issue, how does planning feel about it? Do we want to suggest yes to zoning? Zoning will have to vote on it. And then town council will have to vote on each one of these major zone changes. Yes, ma'am.
So I agree completely with the sentiment behind the letter, or the intent behind the letter, because if I'm understanding it, is we don't just want this to be a document that sits on the shelf and collects dust. We want this to be a living document that can be implemented, and that the town has the resources in place, whether it's internally with its very qualified and talented staff, and or some combination with external assistance. I don't feel that unless we've got a solid request, like a very specific request, I don't know if I would send a letter unless we have a firm idea of how much we want, what we want it for, and that it's based in something. Like we've had a conversation, we've had conversations with, zoning consultants who have this type of expertise. I just feel like it's a little too undefined for it to have teeth. And if the idea is that we want it to have teeth, I don't know if as written it achieves that.
Just to add to that, Mr. Chairman, I think they would come back to you and say, okay, Mr. Chairman, what is this going to involve, and what do you feel are going to be some of the costs that are going to be incurred? So we need to have a plan before we can send this really to the council, because the council.
Well, maybe that's what we need to say is as the planning, we need you to delay this while planning comes up with a budget and specifics of what this might entail. The only thing I can go off is if we can look at the billing hours that the lawyers and that Glenn have put in on Stratford Housing Partnership and just say, let's do that for a 2-year contract, or basically he was on for a 6-month contract. Let's do that for a full year contract to bring in a consultant who works with planning on beginning to develop this. So Smitha, does that sound possible?
Can't comment.
Well, Christina, does that sound possible?
I think so. I feel like I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think without a really solid scope of work to justify the request, I think it's gonna fall on deaf ears.
Okay.
I
Understand
don't think
there's
it's
a lot
wrong.
of
I think
there are people in here and in Hartford who don't believe that a planning commission should exist.
Yeah, I get. I mean, I
So
totally get that.
It's important that we maintain our purpose. or
Look,
me.
I come from the fundraising world where if you don't have a really defined ask and defined scope of work, you're not getting the money. So like for me, I would
Okay,
like I'll
I'm
give
gonna
you a
stop you,
perfect
Christina.
example.
Write
Hold on.
me a short paragraph that suggests that we find the current Stratford Housing Partnership
Mhm.
consultant who is an expert on housing and on zoning, and bring him on as a paid consultant, not to work for Stratford Housing Partnership, but to work with planning on fully developing what needs to be done and what the cost and timeline would be.
With all due respect, I think that recommendation needs to come from the Planning and Zoning Office in their proposed budget.
Okay.
If it
That
did
we
and
can
we
ask
support it,
Smitha. That's
that's
within the range of her responding. So Smitha?
Yes, I just want to clarify, just because the town likes a particular consultant doesn't necessarily mean that the consultant would have time to work with us. He probably has a range of projects that he has already committed himself to. And anything over a budget of $75,000 should
Right.
go before the town council through an RFP process.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I agree with Ms. Kazanas, who said that it's the P&Z office that has to prepare the budget in terms of what the sequencing of the projects should be. In my mind, as a town planner, our priorities are set for the next few months. I mean, we have our complete street 60% designs that are currently, we just received comments from DOT. We have to get them to the 90% stage before December. We have our Greenway, Complete Streets Phase 2 that we have to, prepare preliminary designs on the other side of Barnum Avenue towards Paradise Green, which I was talking to Mr. Staley earlier today before the meeting started. And we also have our plan of conservation and development that is due for adoption in 2024. And it'll take at least 2 years to get this done. I mean, our housing plan itself took us a year. So we have to start working on that pretty much like sometime during the later part of this year or early part of next year, depending on how the RFP process goes. So there are some, sequences that we have to follow. And also the town council probably would adopt the housing plan per statute. But for that to be effective, that has to be adopted as an amendment to the POCD, which itself takes 65 days from when the next meeting is, because we have to advertise and follow the statutory requirements by Connecticut general statutes for the 65 period of, opening the meeting, including the public input, and closing before you amend the POCD to include the housing plan as part of the POCD. And that itself, after that, I think that it's the election time, and I don't know how many commission members would remain. And we have to bring up to speed whoever is the new commission on these, the good work that was done by this commission and the housing partnership and the zoning commission, and then, perhaps give them an opportunity to decide what is it that they want to pick to implement or work on in terms of the housing plan. I mean, that's just a staff thought, but it's like I said, I am not allowed to comment on what you are discussing within the letter, and it's up to the commission members to discuss broadly what you think is the right way.
Well, I also think, so Smitha raised what we discussed many times in the housing partnership, is the fact that this housing strategies document, if accepted, will have a huge impact on our POCD. And someone said, well, you'll just insert a new chapter, but that doesn't work that way, because it actually needs to be integrated into our housing, our you know, all the different chapters within the POCD, because it affects across the board. Major zoning changes would impact Stratford from top to bottom. So whatever work gets done will end up becoming a part of the new POCD. So it sounds like from Christina, you are not in favor of mentioning dollars or budget in this letter.
Not right now. I don't think
Okay,
right
so
now.
let me look at it. We're
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be obstructionist. I just I think that that something like this would pack a stronger punch.
Well, let me read you the sentence. We need the town council to recognize that a steady stream of funding is needed to implement various housing strategies. As the budget hearings are currently underway, we request you consider and account for the implementation of these housing strategies in your decision making on the town budget. Now, we could take out the whole last half of that sentence. We could take out as the budget hearings are underway and take out all of that information.
But they're going to come, Mr. Chairman, they will come back and say, well, okay, how much do you need?
Well, then maybe that's what we can say. Take out all of this and just simply say, we look forward to working with you in developing a budget to refine this information. Does that make sense, Daniel?
That's a little better.
Okay.
A little better. Discussing.
Elaine, did you get that? We're gonna lose everything from we request on to the end of that sentence. That's the last sentence of the document.
Okay.
And then we're going to change it to say, we look forward to working with town council. I'm going to add and zoning, or maybe just and all agencies to further, I don't know, what did I say earlier? Someone help me.
You need the town council record that he's moving fund.
To further develop
strategy, to develop strategies.
And budgets required for that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you mean to implement strategies or develop
Implement strategies, because we have the strategies. We need yeah.
Implement.
Yes, yes. But you understand some of these strategies are a 2-sentence paragraph. So you really need to fully develop. Maybe fully develop is the word that needs.
So implement strategies and develop what?
Fully develop?
To fully develop and implement strategies
To implement the strategy in the plan.
Right. And the only other thing we could add in there is that we understand the whole partnership must be on a timeline that will range from immediate to 10 years. That was very clear in all the discussions within the housing partnership. Some of these things, we are not there yet.
So I think you all can see this on the screen. If you can just read it and let me know if this looks accurate enough for you.
Can you increase, I'm sorry, can you increase the view?
Yes.
From 107 to like 125 or something?
Okay.
Or 200.
You already did it.
I can't see.
Thank you.
Better, thank you.
What are the goals and strategies outlined in the document? Also,
you can just say over the past year. You don't have to say over the past 1 year. Diverse housing.
A diverse housing stock.
Yeah. Yeah.
A diverse, yeah.
A,
Promoting a diverse
after
housing.
promoting. Can, where you see commission, wherever you see commission, can you put planning in before that?
Yeah, I think this says enough without saying too much.
Okay, the only
Not
other
gonna be
thing that I
perfect.
think I would feel more comfortable is if somewhere in here we link this to the plan of conservation and development. I think that will give town council a clear understanding of that this work will need to be integrated into the beginnings of our new plan of conservation and development.
So why don't we, in the sentence, it says, over the past year, the housing partnership members met regularly in developing the housing vision, goals, and strategies for promoting a diverse housing stock in Stratford. These vision, goals, and strategies will inform the
Yes.
update to the plan of conservation and development that must be approved by 2024.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You just got $2.5 million grant, Christina.
Then on the bottom, there's we're redundant a little on the bottom portion.
It's
So I would just say, I'll let Smitha finish.
Yeah, I'll abbreviate this POCD.
I mean, look,
Okay.
if we
On the
not
bottom-
to, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. On the bottom, it should say, we look forward to working with all town agencies to fully develop these strategies in the document. We already say just above that, implement. So I would just say these strategies in the document.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yes. I might even go further and say a selection of these strategies, because it's really meant as a menu.
Mhm. I mean, I don't think you need to get that specific. I think
No, I
the intent
Well,
is.
I will tell you that there's
stated.
a force in Hartford that's ready to come after us, that we need to make sure that we're clear with what we're doing.
Okay.
But okay.
The only thing that I would probably, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with this because look, one concrete thing that you could put in here if you felt like it made it stronger is that, you know, since 2008, there has been on staff and in the budget a funded grant writer position that if properly funded and supported could be helping the town identify funding sources and assisting the planning and zoning department in accessing those resources. It has not been fully funded at 100% for quite some time.
You're getting personal.
Yes, I am.
That is
Yes,
part
I
of the
am.
POCD, and
It
that's
makes me
also,
angry how much money we leave on the table. It
Christina,
makes me
that's
very
also
angry.
that's in the Stratford, in the planning, in the housing partnership documents. One of the things we recognize is that if we are going to build a cash fund through through building fees, that we need to actually start using it to leverage grants. So that is
Right.
part of it. But
you're
I
not
don't
going to
know
do
if
it with a part-time grant writer.
if they ask you right now, if you ask right now, they will say we have a full-time grant writer.
That's, yeah, okay.
I understand.
Harold, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Once we get past this, are we done with this letter now?
I think we're almost.
Okay, because I had a standing question. I just kind of was waiting
Let
to
me
get
just
past
check.
that.
Anybody else want to add anything to this?
Love and kisses, Harold.
All right, we will add that. John?
I not necessarily to add anything to the letter, but in reading all the documentation over a long period of time, we did have to get to a certain level in order for the state not to step in, I believe, and on certain affordable housing projects.
Yes.
And that does fall into the coastal. And they all have to come
Little doggy. Where's the little doggy?
excuse me?
Doggy. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was
Yeah.
me.
So, it seems like we took a change in course when we started talking budgetary.
The housing partnership took a change in course?
No, the planning commission.
In what way?
Well, I thought we were moving forward, and now we're talking budgetary process. Because everything still has to go through all the committees and or the commissions and council. So I got a little confused when you were talking about budgetary items.
I was really just reacting that all of this is happening so quick. My assumption was that this was going to take like a year to go through. It's all been compressed within a couple weeks. So we've been asked to like suddenly respond because the council members wanted to move on it. So, honestly, I feel like the housing partnership should have spent more time developing more plans, but in fairness to the housing partnership, they wanted to get a sense of, does the town buy into this plan in any kind of way before we go any further with it? All of this is bracketed by the state of Connecticut. Remember, this housing partnership plan is a requirement from the state. They're the ones that are saying you risk losing your capital grants from the state if you can't show us a housing strategy that will develop lower income housing. So we actually were reacting to that. Now the state at some point was even saying, we're going to give you the format that you have to follow in your plan. Well, Stratford's format ended up becoming the state's because we're the only town that really has come up with this kind of a plan. The state loved what we're doing. They said, we're going to use yours as our format for all the other towns. So they have been useless. If that helps anybody. Yes, Smita.
Just a correction, Mr. Watson, because we are on record, I wouldn't call, the state something that you said just now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were just using the format to develop their own format, and I think they ultimately came up with something that actually looks like a good guide for any municipality that will be working on it. Although we have jumped ahead, it's good to see that this housing plan, this housing strategies document that was developed by the partnership actually touches upon many of the things that are discussed in the guidance document.
I will take back what I said. My apologies to the state.
So can I speak?
Yes, you may.
Okay, William Boyd, Zone 2. The question I had as I've been listening all week to this, are we referring to this SB 1024 bill that's in Hartford that looked like it has a chance of getting out of committee and getting approved? So if that does get approved, does that supersede what we were doing here in Stratford? Or, so my point is, are we planning on something here with the housing partnership that's going to be superseded by what's coming out of Hartford? And do we have to start all over if that happens?
Explain the bill to me, because there's a bunch
of
them.
The SB 1024, which demands that the state will take over planning and zoning in each municipality, and it'll be state mandated, not left to each separate planning and zoning.
That's the Desegregate Connecticut. That's what's referred to as the Desegregate Connecticut bill.
Yes.
Yes, that's one of the things that we've known is coming for the last 6 months. So what we are trying to do is to head off, or at least supply us with some verbiage to say, hey, we're doing a good job here. At least make our case, because Stratford has a different case than most communities in Connecticut.
Right. With that said, I know we're asking that, but will that bill basically supersede what the housing partnership and what we and zoning have all sort of put together in its infancy? Will that supersede us? So then will we have to amend our plan to them? Or, I'm not sure where things are, because I've been listening to that all week.
In almost all instances, state law supersedes local law.
Okay. So I guess my point is this just a
But I
kind
think
of
this is partly why the town council is moving on this so quickly, to make sure they can get on the record that we have been working on this for the last year, and that, you can badmouth home rule all you want, but we are actually doing a good job at trying to come up with plans. So I don't want to say more than that, because I don't want to. There are two political fields, and Stratford stands alone. We are neither. When I look at it, we really have singularly done the right thing in what we've done in this plan.
And the last point is your chairmanship ends in November. So does the chair that takes over, do they automatically get a seat on the Stratford Housing Partnership?
Yes, my chair ends actually in December. But yes, whoever's the new chair will take over. The position on the Stratford Housing Partnership is based on the planning chair and the zoning chair. It's not based on me as an individual.
Got you. Thank you.
That's mandated by state. Yes, John.
Okay.
Am I able to ask Smith a question?
Sure.
Weren't we talking about a percentage of affordable housing so that the state could not interfere with what we do?
I think she's frozen. John, yes, that is what we're trying to do. But understand, we're talking about, we would have to have 400 pieces of housing just to get a moratorium. It's huge. And then if you look at what we would need to not be under their guidance at all, it's like 4,000 units of affordable housing, which those become very difficult things to do in an overbuilt Stratford. It means that you have to build 100-unit affordable housing units all over the place in order to come up with those kind of numbers. The problem is, every time right now we let anything get built, we are using up our space eventually that could be an affordable housing unit. So part of that problem we can't solve with just trying to get enough units to get through a moratorium now. Some other towns can do it. Towns with tons of, our ratio is 90% built, 95% built. So we have very little land that we can say we'll make this to be an affordable unit, affordable housing. We're going to have to look at all of these other kind of examples of, tear downs, rebuilds, accessory apartments. All of those kind of strategies are the way that Stratford is going to have to build in order to come up with those numbers. But it's a hard road no matter what we do.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So myself again, William Boyd, Zone 2. The other question I had too is circling back on a couple of meetings ago is, I guess it's a question for Susmitha. Is there that 5% of maybe buildable land or land that we do have? Do we even know where that is and what regard we hold that land in now, so we even have an idea what possibly can be done? Like, I know we say we're 95% built and then we have to do things with zoning, but where are those pockets that are possible that may be able to be developed? Do we have an inventory of that? I believe I asked this months ago.
Yes, so Economic Development maintains a list on their website of developable properties in the town that are town-owned. So maybe you could visit that, page and look at that database.
I'm sorry, it's
You-
economic development?
Yes, and you may also want to reach out to one of the supervisors in the department to get a more current list if you would like. But regarding other properties that are vacant, that are privately owned, our GIS database it actually shows both town-owned and privately owned vacant land on our GIS database as well. The PLCD also had a list when the Plan of Conservation and Development was prepared in 2014. So there are several ways that you can obtain this, but I think the more current information on town-owned properties would be from the Office of Economic Development.
Okay, I think that would be something important in our meetings because I feel like we're throwing darts in this vast ocean or rocks in this ocean. Like where, we're talking about an idea of something, but we have no variance on what, where, how, if. Kind of hard to really put together a plan if you don't know where you can plan it for, what, size, does it match the town decor? I have no idea what's in Stratford, like where it could be. I think that would be important, even with the Stratford Housing Partnership, that they would know that as well.
William, that is one of the problems, that most of the developments that come up here are not on town-owned land. They're on privately owned land, which we can only relate to as our standard water, sewer, roadway. We don't have huge amounts of say, other than what we put in our zoning: height, density, safety, those kinds of things. That's
Okay.
why we end up with so many battles, and that's why we also get so little affordable housing built, because it becomes a very expensive proposition to a lot of developers. So the Stratford Housing Partnership will essentially at some point begin to work with some way of creating a public-private partnership that doesn't exist at this point in Stratford. It does exist in other places, but we don't have that. Yes, John?
Chair, I think we beat this thing up pretty good. I don't see us moving forward. We have a letter.
You want to give us unless someone else has something, you want to give us you want to move on this letter?
I make a motion to move forward on the letter.
Anybody second that?
Aye, William Boyd, zone 2.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? So we have 5 in favor. It's accepted. Please, Smitha, I think you got the changes in this now.
Yes.
Is everything okay with you, Smitha?
Yeah, I'll print it on the Planning Commission's letterhead, Mr. Watson, and I will send it to you to sign, so I can send it officially to the town council. If you're able to stop by the town hall to sign it, that's better too. I can just come out and
When do you
get
have
it
to have
signed.
this in by?
Well, I think the sooner the better, because May 10th is when this will be heard by the town council. So I would want to send it over to them in advance, at least 1 week in advance.
Okay. Well, will you leave it around where Jay can find it if you're not in? Are you in every day now?
Yeah, I'm in every day, and I will leave it on, and I'll let others know if I go for a break or something.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll find a way to get down this week.
Okay,
So,
great.
so
Okay,
do we
so
have
you'll
to
let us
make an
know.
appointment to come, or can we just come?
Well, so we're still accepting by appointment only, but if
Okay.
depending on who you want to meet with, I don't know what the other departments are doing. In our office, it's by appointment.
Okay, so if we need to come in and sign it, we can just call Tiny and let her know that we're coming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you can send an email blast out that it's ready and that we can come, so then we'll know to us.
Okay.
Are you
Okay.
gonna,
Yeah, sure.
are we gonna have everybody sign this?
I was just going to say, I thought it's just Harold signs this.
Yeah, I
Currently,
thought-
it's just me signing, but I don't care. If
Oh,
you all,
okay, all right.
if you can all make it to sign it, it can be from everyone if you want.
I'm okay with the chair.
Okay, we're gonna
I'm
let
okay.
it stand unless someone wants to have their name on this document.
So,
I will be
Oh,
the
you.
sacrificial cow for this.
watch it.
They pay you the big bucks, Harold.
All right, so I think we have, I will say, is there any new business? Anybody want to bring up anything? But we are at 7:01 and I told Smith that she could go to her PTA meeting by 7. So she has to leave, but if anybody wanted to discuss anything,
You can't,
yes,
Harold,
ma'am.
this is Aileen Marsh, recording secretary speaking. Because this is a special meeting, you can't,
discuss anything
and there's
else.
not new business, so you can only take a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Thank you, Eileen.
word's a word. Anybody motion?
Motion to adjourn, Christina Kazanis,
Anybody
Sonwood.
second?
And
John
second.
Staley, all in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Bye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you guys
Great.
very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.